is always a fun topic, but Taylor is an important part of our process, and so hope everyone has a lot of good questions for him. Real quick, we partnered with MorrowHill to be our master broker. And I know I'm not going to steal Taylor's thunder. He's going to go through what they do, but outside of working one-on-one with our individual franchisees, he spends a lot of time sourcing grander deals that are fit for a company like us that's trying to get national scale. And he's in talks currently with places like Walmart and Kroger's and different large chains, because that's how you really scale and create those opportunities. And it makes our franchisees' lives easier if we can go in the door with a Meyer and already know the person to talk to see, hey, is this a good fit or not? Do you want to pilot this program? Do you want to test it? And so it's been a great resource for us, and we appreciate MorrowHill so much.
All right, thanks, Costa. Yeah, so my name's Taylor Lovett. I'll be your real estate point of contact as you move through the site selection process, and tell you a little bit about MorrowHill. As Costa mentioned, we're a national franchise real estate management firm. We work with some of the fastest growing franchises in the country, and we handle all of the transactions out of our Dallas, Texas office, and we've really modeled our process around the franchise industry. We started working with franchise brands several years ago, and really started to see some of the inefficiencies and shortcomings of the traditional brokerage model. So we put our heads together, and we came up with a system that streamlines it, reduces redundant steps and unnecessary moving parts to one, move through the real estate or site selection process as quickly as possible, but also make it easier on you, the franchisee, and the franchisor as well. So before we get into the process, I'll tell you a little bit about some of the tools and technology we use that allows us to manage your real estate process remotely from our Dallas, Texas office. So you might ask, well, what about a local broker? Shouldn't they be connected into the market and understand what sites are available and who owns what? Well, with the technology we have at our fingertips, we've got access to all the ownership databases, as well as listing services that can tell us what properties are being marketed, what properties look, what ownerships to reach out to for off-market properties, and as well as we take a lot of time with each client to understand their company culture, their operational model, so we can understand what real estate works best for this operation. And we've got a really good finger on the pulse of what works for a Costa Oil location. So we're able to go in and take one look at a site and say, yes, this can work, or no, I don't think this is going to fit. So by doing so, you're not having to train up a local broker, a new broker, to understand what to look for and find and present. We have that information and knowledge and experience already, so we can hit the ground running as soon as you sign your franchise agreement. Some of the technological tools, like I mentioned, we've got access to the listing services, ownership database. We also have some analytical tools that will help us evaluate these opportunities, from demographic reports, so we can see the population densities and household incomes and traffic counts and educational attainment and employment levels, things like that. But also we have some more advanced features that we can get really nerdy with site visit data based off of your mobile device location tracking. So we can identify a shopping center or a target point, and we can run a report that'll show us how many individuals have visited that location over the past 12 months. And we can actually drill down on the time of day that most visits are taking place, the time of year based off of month. We can even track their routes to and from that point of interest. So we can see, okay, these guys are coming from Highway 198 and they're exiting on Interstate 20 or whatever it may be. So we can really get very granular on the analytical side that can help us. You know, if we got two sites we're evaluating and they're neck and neck, that type of highly detailed information can help push us one way or another. All right, so let's talk about the process a little bit. So once you sign your franchise agreement, we'll set up a real estate kickoff call, and that's where we'll do our strategic planning there. We'll discuss your business background, your operational history, and really dig into your market and identify any kind of target points, whether that's a certain intersection, a certain street or highway or a zip code that you want to target over any others. And then so we'll have a custom built plan moving forward to engage the market and start pulling those sites based off of your preferences. So then once we have our strategic planning meeting, then we'll engage the market. This is where we'll put together our team and start calling on brokers, ownerships, developers, economic development councils, and really start turning over a bunch of rocks and kicking up a bunch of dust in the market to find locations for you. And this can be the kiosk style model where we're going into shopping centers and carving out a small portion of their parking lot for ground lease, or this could be raw land for purchase, small parcels that fit our footprint, or it could be second gen operations opportunities, existing quick lube shops or auto repair or car washes or gas stations, you name it. Some of the second generation options that could allow us, a quicker entry to the market rather than, new construction. So we'll engage the market. We'll pull all the information. We'll reach out to all the connections we've made nationally with, the large merchants that Costa mentioned, Walmart, Lowe's, Kroger, Meijer. We're working with, trying to connect with several other regional grocery chains in some of the markets we're engaged in right now. So yeah, that engage the market process where we really hit the ground running and do the bulk of our the lion's share of the work there. So once we've engaged the market, then that's when we'll present options to you. And we'll do this through a proprietary software that we developed in-house called VisionTrack. And this is going to be essentially a web-based portal where you'll have a unique username and login where you'll access all the information that we'll upload for each site. That's going to be, things as basic as address, size, pricing, demographic information. We'll have maps uploaded there as well, so we can identify competitors, other complementary users, points of interest, whether you want to focus on staying close to Walmart or a school or churches or hospitals or car washes, you name it, we can add those points of interest into the map so we can evaluate these options and see how the market is mapped out. Also on there, we'll upload the demographic reports I mentioned. We'll have what we call the deal tracker, and that's going to be where we'll track our timelines and milestones throughout the process, so we can see how, if we're waiting on a certain LOI response from a landlord and it's been 3 weeks since we received a response, we know that the ball is in their court and that we can push hard on them to get us that response. But it allows, transparency throughout the process, that you can see, hey, we're moving along very quickly, or if things are starting to slow down, we can see, where that action item is and who's responsible there. Also, we'll be uploading all the supporting documents there as well. So if we submit an LOI or we receive a lease agreement, that will all be uploaded there to VisionTrack. So rather than having to dig back through dozens and dozens and weeks of emails, all of that information is going to be right there at your fingertips. So we can, again, move through the process as quickly as possible. So even beyond the site selection phase, we can use that tool, VisionTrack, as more of a project management tool as well. So with your attorneys, your architects, your GCs, your sign vendors, your engineers, you name it, we can all allow them access to the Vision Track portal so that site plans and architectural renderings, permitting applications, things like that, all that can be uploaded as well. So we can bring them into the fold in that system, and it'll be a central location for all of your partners and vendors. So once we identify a site that we like, we'll put out an LOI. An LOI, that stands for letter of intent, and that's a non-binding document. So it's not a legal document that will, like a lease or a purchase agreement. It's really just a call it a moral compass or a North Star in the negotiation process. We'll outline the terms and basic deal points of a real estate transaction. So if it's a ground lease, we'll identify how long is the lease for, what's the rent payment, is the landlord contributing any money, how much time do we have for construction and contingency period, things like that. So we like to submit 2 to 3 LOIs in each market. That way we have some fallback options if our top choice, falls through for whatever reason. But also we have some different LOIs or negotiation points that we can compare and contrast against. So this landlord's offering this much money, or this landlord's only asking this much in rent. We can compare and contrast 2 deals and decide which opportunity is best for us. So once we have the deal points and terms agreed to in an LOI, then we'll go into the lease negotiation phase. This is where we recommend that you have an attorney on standby, ready to review and negotiate any legal items on your behalf. Me as a real estate broker, I'm not a licensed attorney. I legally can't provide any legal advice on a real estate document. So that's going to be on you to engage with an attorney to review those on your behalf. And then once we move through the lease negotiation phase and you have a executed lease, then we're on to our contingency period and construction periods. So we'll walk through those here in just a second. But really quick, we'll want to make a point that you have a full dedicated team behind you with MorrowHill. I'll be the face, I'll be your main point of contact, but we do have a team of analysts and research individuals that are combing the market every single day, making calls, sending out emails and flyers to try to drum up as many opportunities as we can in each market. So you've got a very experienced and highly skilled team supporting you here throughout the site selection process. Okay, so some site expectations as far as what we're looking for. Ideally, we'd like to do the parking lot carve-outs. I think that provides us, the lowest cost to entry into a market. There's a lot of existing infrastructure in those types of sites that we can build upon and reduce our site costs as well. But some things we look for is grocery anchored centers. We love grocery anchored centers because it's a daily driver. People are going in there, weekly, if not daily, to go grocery shopping. So that's a regular steady flow of traffic that's insulated from the e-commerce boom we've seen over the past few years, where a lot of traditional brick and mortar retailers are struggling. Well, grocery chains are more or less insulated from that. So we love a good grocery anchor as a target point, but also just anywhere that has a good balance of residential and retail mixed together. So we want to be close to where they shop, but we also want to be close to where they live. That's going to give us the best opportunity to become top of mind when it is time for them to get an oil change. So some of the analytics we'll look for: demographics. Depending on your market, these numbers could vary quite a bit, but ideally, we like to see 50,000 people within a 3-mile radius. We feel like that's a fair benchmark. If you're in a small town, obviously that's going to be different. Not to say that less dense areas can be successful locations; they absolutely can. but just to kind of give you some ideas here. Household income, that's a median household income of 50,000 a year annually. We like to find a sweet spot on the household income. We don't want to be too low and we don't want to be too high. We want that, the middle class, upper middle class, where they take good care of their cars, but also they're not looking for the luxury service at a full service dealer where they drop off their car for the day, get a courtesy car, and off they go. So we typically like to see at least 50,000 a year in household income. Anything over 100 to 125,000 a year annually probably gets into a type of customer that is not our target demographic. Strong traffic counts, 15,000 cars a day, I would say, is probably a good benchmark. Again, based on your market, that could vary quite a bit. But we want eyeballs on the store, so we want to make sure that there is good vehicle traffic there to the store. Some of the characteristics we look for, accessibility, I think, is one of the most important. It is important to be visible. We want them to see us, but I think more importantly, we want it to be easy for them to get to the store. You can have the most visible location right there at Main and Main with 100,000 cars a day in traffic, but if traffic's always so backed up that it's a pain to get in and out of that location, that store can be detrimental. So we want to make sure that it's easy to get in and out of the store for the consumer, and that kind of plays into a psychological aspect of if it's too difficult to get to the store, they may drop a half a mile or a mile down the street to the other one that's easier to get to in and out, and so we want to make sure it's easy to get in and out of. Visibility is important, but we can counteract poor visibility with signage and marketing and different secondary strategies to improve that visibility. Utilities being close to development site is also important as well. That's going to play into your overall project costs. We don't want to try to target a location that we're having to run utilities 100, 200 feet. That's going to be astronomically expensive based on our project costs and puts us in quite of a hole starting out. So we want to